Michelle's Life with Angelina, Episode 5, The Empowered Single Mother.
You're pregnant.
Yeah.
Whoa, you're very
about to give birth. Well, she's due this Sunday, October 4th. My midwife just checked me yesterday. I should go within the next 3 weeks. However, when she checked me, she said that not only is my cervix actually gone from posterior to anterior, which obviously makes the birth process that much easier, I'm also fully effaced, which means that, edge of the cervix has already thinned out, to start, opening. So I'm not quite, I'm just like a little hair opening, so not quite a centimeter dilated. So, who knows? Could be this week or could be, within the next couple weeks. So we'll see.
You didn't know you were pregnant. Tell me the story, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So let me go back to how this journey all began.
Yeah.
So now she's almost here, and we get to celebrate her being very shortly. Going through the process of birth is something I'm a little trepidatious about. This is my first time.
And how old are you?
I'm the big 40.
Whoa. Did you ever think that you would have any kids?
Which is an interesting question, Tina, because going back to my childhood, I really never thought I was going to have kids, which is odd for a woman to think that. I mean, just generally speaking. And my mother thought it was odd, because my mother's life would have never been complete without children. Of course, she's born under the sign of Cancer, and that's all about home and family. I'm born under the sign of Scorpio, not necessarily. We like the process more than we do the end result. So, with that said, actually there's no aspects in my astrological chart that point to children. So, I tend to feel like that may have something to do with the fact that I've never really felt that, compelled to have children. With that said, when you get to the 40th birthday, obviously there's those feelings of, oh my God, a window of opportunity could close very soon. I mean, there's a lot of women giving birth into their 40s, but what I'm finding, even in my own work, is that there's a lot of women who've waited to have children, waited for Prince Charming and the white picket fence and the whole package that we were sold back in childhood that exists to show up before actually, making that choice. And of course, I think in the back of my mind, I didn't want to bring a child into the world unless I had a really solid relationship with somebody in a household where, like mine.
And do you?
Well, apparently the karmic path for this being and me is to be the empowered single mom. And it's surprising in 2009 that they're not as enlightened by empowered single moms, taking on the path. I was going to actually share my story with the baby story, which is on the Learning Channel. They actually followed through and did a story on my sister and her family. Apparently they don't feel compelled to do stories on single women, which I think is kind of sad.
Really sad.
Especially in this day and age. You've got a lot of women in Hollywood. The relationship may or may not, be something that is, shall we say, long-lasting, but they're still empowered to, have a child and raise it on their own. Of course, I'm talking Hollywood, where they have a lot of help to be able to do that. But that's the case for women all over the world, and has been the case since time immemorial. I mean, I've heard of a lot of really fantastic stories of, women taking on being single mothers. So, why not me? I never certainly chose this path, but apparently Spirit has something clearly in mind.
Thank you.
For me and for Angel. So I truly believe that.
Okay, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
So you didn't know you were pregnant. That's my.
So I didn't know I was pregnant. So interestingly enough, this is a great transition. talking about my work, which is part of my story, is the energy therapy that I was doing with a number of women who wanted to conceive and get pregnant. And going back to late last year, and in December, there was a gal that I was working with. Very clearly, I will always remember that session. It was profound. I've never in any session that I've ever done with anybody, mind you, even any women that I've worked with that have been working with me to get conceive and get pregnant, had that extraordinary of an experience. Holding the space for her. Clearly, I was so in the zone. I mean, every experience is different, but I was so in the zone that I truly felt how my being was being used as a channel in a way that I hadn't quite experienced before. I mean, I stood there absolutely in awe. All the angelic beings, guides that were surrounding me and my client. I broke down into tears, like in the middle of the session. Obviously very quietly, while I'm holding space for the client. But it was quite extraordinary, the sense of, I don't know, just the presences that were there. And looking back, after having, and I'll get into the story of, my pregnancy and how I discovered that I was pregnant, looking back on that particular session, it seemed very clear to me that that experience was as much about my clearing for what was to come as it was for my clients. Because what had actually occurred, unbeknownst to me, of course, until later on, was that I was the one that got pregnant, conceived, shortly thereafter. And I remember being at, there's another gal who's a healer and who does some really fantastic body work in the city. Sane Riley is her name. And I remember distinctly being at a Christmas party at her house and noticing the pictures of her and her son and how I was really just captivated by them. This was after the session, and it was like I was so drawn in to her relationship with her son and the energetics, such that it truly moved me. I ended up conceiving on January 10th, 11th, shortly, after the Christmas season. And what I've discovered about, souls and beings that are choosing to come in is they could be traveling with you for a long period of time. Of course, there's varying belief systems based on different spiritual paths, but it very clearly, looking back, I recognize how Spirit was working with me, through that particular session, just, clearing my being, because I definitely had a lot of thoughts and beliefs about bringing a child into the world prior to 2012. Where is humanity going, and what does this mean, and do I really want to bring a child into the world? And I'm sure a lot of people have thought that at all, for many years, at all, in all time periods in our history, based on actually, wars and things that were occurring, the miraculousness of life continuing despite our fears and despite actually what's happening in the world is really quite profound. So, at any rate, I just noticed where my feelings were. So it's not a surprise to me that, of course, if, being that I have a spiritual contract, with
What do you mean by that?
this being.
Claim your free gifts and see all the episodes of Michelle's Life with Angelina at www.lovebabygifts.com/blog.